In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the upcoming pattern, diving in where there is a major Arctic blast on the way at a certain point over the next 10 days. We're also going to be just diving into a potential severe weather outbreak that is going to be happening very similar to the ones that we've seen over the past month, coming across the Rockies and developing across those plains and bringing potential for severe weather and tornadic activity throughout those plains and into the Ohio Valley, the deeper south. We're going to be taking a look at all of these things throughout this video. Let's get going with it. And as you can see, oh wait, happy Easter, by the way. I always forget when it's a holiday here on the channel. I always forget to mention it, but happy Easter, everyone. I hope that you guys have a beautiful day today. And the weather is going to be quite beautiful today. Here is the kind of midday point, I'd say about 1 or 2 p.m. here in the east. And generally, this is going to be midday for most everybody. We can see the northwest does have a storm moving in. And then there is some spotty showers, perhaps thunderstorms across the middle of the nation here. But this is very spotty and short-lived. Then there is a brief area of storminess still sitting over the southeast. But, I mean, we will take this. You know what I mean? This is beautiful weather for April. And we have to kind of take what we can get here on this beautiful Easter Sunday, April 9th. So I think that this is going to be a pretty darn nice day. It's a little cold in the east, but we will take it, like I said. As we keep things going, this is kind of the moral of the story is we have this really big ridge and a little bit of a trough here in the east. It's very gentle gradient, so there is going to be some seasonable temperatures here in the east, but that is a very soft trough there in the east. This ridge, however, is pretty intense, so we could see some things warming pretty significantly here across kind of the early week to midweek time frame here. We still have this storm system sitting over the northwest there as well. As we keep going towards Tuesday, the high temperatures, it's kind of just the same story. The jet stream hasn't changed at all. We do still have this pretty major storm system 994 up here in Canada, and this is bringing actually a pretty wintry storm, as you can see, for the Cascades and the Northern Rockies. We can see a lot of snowfall developing throughout these areas in the kind of Pacific Northwest, and then again those Northern Rockies. Heavy snowfall, perhaps. We'll take a look at the total snowfall in a little while, but I wouldn't be surprised if those totals are actually pretty large. As we reach into Wednesday, we could see this kind of pretty weak tropical activity happening here, thrusting some storms into Louisiana and Texas here. Probably pretty windy, probably high moisture in those storms, so flooding will be a concern. But this is a pretty weak system. It just is interesting to see tropical development on April 12th. That is not very usual there. We have this kind of train of storms happening here. We have another weaker storm system moving through the northwest. We could see this 989 there. So that is the storm track at this point, and it makes sense because the jet stream is basically doing this by this point. So this does not favor a lot of storminess across the lower 48. As you can see, it is still quite quiet by this point, by midweek, and we actually have a lot of this warmth billowing in by midweek into the east at this point. So this is moving into the east. We even have some motion like this as well. So there's a lot of warmth building in as we get later and later and later into the east. It's going to be starting Thursday, and then, or better yet, Wednesday and lasting into Thursday evening. Now, by this point, we do have a 989 there over eastern Colorado, and that is a bit of our big concern here. We do have this tropical moisture flooding into the Gulf still, so this is impacting Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Arkansas. We can see this bringing impacts to many different states at this point. But actually, the weather I'm concerned about the most here is this 989 here. If you kept up with the channel over the past couple of months, you would note that these lows developing over eastern Colorado have been the building blocks, the very foundation of these severe weather events. And also, not only that, we do have this same temperature pattern where there's a big ridge in the east here, and that is what we're seeing by late week, Thursday into Friday, and a lot of cooler air moving into the west. Again, still the same story there later this week, and that has been the story throughout all of our severe weather outbreaks this past 30 days or so. Now, as we see this really develop, we have a pretty broad area of low pressure because there is some lower pressure up there, but our main low is over Oklahoma and Kansas. The further south this stays, the less people that will be impacted by this is a pretty good rule of thumb. We do see some snowfall on the back end happening here for the Rockies, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana. We're seeing that snowfall develop with this. Because it is to the west of this low, and we do have cold air pouring in. We do have a little bit of this warm front type kind of dynamic, but it does look like there's a bit of a cold front here, and we could be seeing some severe weather developing already by Friday into Saturday, and especially the high temperatures here on Saturday as this primary kind of takes over as the primary low. We have a bit of a cold front here, and I would not be surprised to see more severe weather along that there. That's going to be Saturday, the 15th. And then we can see Sunday the 16th here as we reach the high temperatures. It's also going to be a pretty high precipitation day along this cold front. Very strong cold front, by the way. So we have the warm surging air taking place out ahead of things, and then this cold air really just hitting it from the side. So wouldn't be surprised to also see some severe weather now taking place on Sunday into Monday for these areas in the east, whether that's a general thunderstorm risk, a marginal risk, a slight risk, an enhanced risk. I don't really know at this point. We're going to have to really get closer to know those kinds of details. But as of now, I do know that there is a risk, and that is what we're going to be looking for. And we see this reach the eastern seaboard by Monday the 17th here as that low really intensifies. So we see this cold front reaching all the way down to Mexico, actually. So wouldn't be surprised to see more Gulf development of some weird storms here. That could be something you would typically see in this type of an instance where that frontal boundary is over the Gulf. Again, just would not be surprised to see that. We do have this severe weather developing along the east. So we're going to be watching for this. It could just be some thunderstorm activity or heavy showers, but I do see the potential there for some severe weather with this. So we're going to want to watch that extremely closely, even as far east as, again, that eastern seaboard area. Which has become more and more likely and really become more common as we've reached further into the spring here. And we have an interesting jet stream pattern here with a very intense trough showing up here on this European model. This would be very cold for April. We have Arctic air practically diving into the east. So this is a true Arctic blast. Could bring some really late frosts and freezes for some areas. So those are some other implications here on Monday into Tuesday, the 17th into the 18th. That we're going to need to watch closely and just see how that develops as we move closer. So we will see. Obviously, we will continue to update you guys on this. Here is the total precipitation, which shows us that we do have some more storm systems moving in through the northwest there. That brings quite a bit of precipitation here, mostly in the form of snowfall. And then we can see that this storm kind of develops here in eastern Colorado and basically moves up into Canada and continues actually eastward there, just like this. And then we get that frontal boundary set up just like this, and this brings some more moisture to these areas. Not really a low moving over these areas, except for that also tropical development. All of these factors throughout the model run are leading into some above average precipitation for all of these Gulf areas and southeast areas. So definitely a very interesting pattern. Here, the total snowfall, we can see that for the Rockies, we're having this low develop here and move through and then up like this. You can really see the storm track here just by looking at the snowfall because we see it throughout the Cascades. That's actually over the course of multiple storms, but this Rockies area is going to be from that main storm that we're watching and then also up here in eastern and central Canada. Same story there. So very, very interesting stuff. As we take a look at this GFS model, I want to see if we get any agreement here with this storm developing, and we really do. It's eastern Colorado here, 990 millibar by Thursday into Friday. On the day on Friday, this is the look, and we actually get a little bit more of a severe look here because I can really make out that cold front and warm front look here. Definitely where we would be watching for severe weather along this area, maybe as far north as Nebraska and Iowa, Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and then maybe even Texas and Louisiana there. We'd be watching for that severe weather just to the east or south of that low. As we move our way into Saturday, again, we see this transfer up to the north, and then this cold front is stretching down like this, and we would be watching all of these areas for severe weather that next day as things kind of spread out. And then for Sunday, that's going to be the 17th. We do have some broad low pressure up here, but this still has a cold front underneath it as well, extending down to Mexico here on this instance as well. And this would be, heavier showers, thunderstorms, maybe even severe weather on that eastern end of things. And then again, for Monday, this is a little bit more progressive here, but we would see potential for showers and thunderstorms here along the eastern seaboard with that cold front. We see that this leads towards a major Arctic blast also here on the GFS model. So this is, again, going to bring very major implications. We quickly rebounded to a very warm pattern here on the GFS model. This is a pretty concerning look as well because what we get is a little bit of a trough moving in and a very sharp ridge here. Still this major trough here. So we get a very roller coaster-like jet stream pattern, as you can see, just lots of dips and ridges. and we see warm air spreading like this. If we see these cold, kind of low pressure systems developing over Colorado, moving directly north from there, we would be watching this front, this whole area, for severe weather in this type of an instance. So I really hope that this is not the case, because this is looking very intense. And even especially here, we get this low here with this very strong cold front bringing severe weather potentially here after this whole pattern. This is very far out, to take it with a grain of salt, but this model just takes us straight into a very intense, very severe looking pattern, and very, very favorable pattern for severe weather, which again is just not what you want to see in mid to late April, but that is what I am seeing here from the GFS model. We see the beginning of it at the very end of that European model. Obviously, this GFS American model gets us much further. We get a longer range here on this one, and this model particularly shows exactly what the European model shows, but it doesn't show it stopping afterwards. It really just shows us seeing more and more storms like that. So we could need to buckle up for a very active pattern later here in April, but only time will be able to tell. You can be sure to subscribe to the channel, because we do upload every single day, and I will of course update you guys on all of these things. So you definitely want to do that. We can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload, so you guys never miss an upload. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.